Welcome to Ex Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us on another episode of Ex Machina. We've got a pretty full house tonight. Everybody's in the house except Doc. He's somewhere in the hinterlands teaching life-saving magic to the heathens, but he couldn't be here tonight, so hopefully he's at least here with us in spirit. We've got Robby and Johnny, who was with us the other night, but tonight they're in a little place a little different. If you notice the kind of discolored sky behind them, well, that ain't a green screen like I've got behind me. That is the landscape of LBL. They are broadcasting from one of the bays deep inside LBL, and we just lost them. Their signal was steady and fine for like the last 30 minutes, and then boom.
That's amazing.
Noah, can you pop them back up?
Evidently not, because they don't have signal.
Man, go absolutely. The minute we go live, we lost them. We'll work out the technical aspects there to get them back on here. But they are in one of the bays down in LBL. They're at the one of the Bigfoot meet and greets that's going on right now. In fact, right before we went live, Coonbo Baker himself popped in and was talking to us on camera. So Miss Naoma's there, and Cam Buckner was there earlier. There's a ton of people there, but that's not primarily what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about some of the interesting things that have been going on in the LBL, and hopefully we'll get them back here in just a moment. But that is odd timing, because literally they've been sitting here chatting with me and Noah for like the last 20-30 minutes, and everything was just fine and clear and crystal clear. And as soon as we go live, we lose them.
Yeah, and I can testify it was crystal clear for about the 5 or 10 minutes that I was on. That's
what
bizarre.
The heck is going on? That is crazy. Dude, I am absolutely geeking out that none other than Coonbo Baker just popped in. I mean, that's, to me, that's awesome. Yeah, that is just so freaking cool.
You moved it up to the big time.
I don't know about all that, but it was really cool actually getting to talk to him face to face. Well, face to face on camera, but we're going to be chatting with him very soon. Hopefully, we'll be having him on the show. I've got his contact info now, and that's going to happen. Yeah, it could be the satellite, folks. I don't know. Don't know what got it. Torsten Neville says, I just got back from a 4-night camp out in LBL, had a couple hair-raising moments, but nothing overly dangerous. The boys had some hair-raising moments down there, too. It's not my story to tell. I want them to tell it, but hopefully we'll have them back in just a minute or so. AD says, be right back. Dogs are going nuts. Hey, man, if there's anything creepy out there, let us know what it was. Be safe.
Wonder if that same thing works for Doc. Nope, Robby didn't come back. I was hoping one would.
Well, Robby's not a whiskey drinker. You'd have to uncork a beer.
That's right. Wait a minute. See if we can get it off here.
Darcy's Wiki has a good point. She says that, or the government is interfering with the signal, so there are no accidental images televised. They were literally sitting with their back to the woods and part of the lake. So, yeah, anything could just walk up behind them. Jeff Yarrington Coonbo is the godfather of Bigfoot. Yeah, he's one of the first ones that really, I learned so much by listening to his stories. When I first started listening to YouTube channels, learning about things from other researchers other than the stuff that I'd done on my own. When I first started listening to YouTube channels, he was one of the first people I really started enjoying listening to, and I learned a lot just by listening to him. And he's one of those guys that's on my bucket list to actually get to meet the guy. And we were supposed to be able to go to LBL this year, but it had some things come up. We just couldn't make it. But hopefully, next year we'll be able to make the meet and greet. Man, let's see if Robby's messaging me. Hold on a second. No, he hasn't.
I was just checking.
I wonder if they just completely lost power or something.
I don't know. That would be bizarre. I mean, they were running off a generator just so they would have, power. You know, we know there have been some EMF kind of things going on there before.
Taylor says dad's phone is dead. His phone just died. Laptop died. Holy crap. He lost his phone and his laptop at the same time. What the
And they're running on a
heck?
generator. Interesting.
Torsten Neville says, lots of howling one night and the elk were barking. A lot of it's way south of the Red Wolf enclosure. Let me move that. So it wasn't them howling and it wasn't coyotes. Yeah, you probably had something big in your area. Robert D says, Coonbo grandparents had a farm on the Missouri River in his childhood. Yeah, I remember hearing him talk about that. Man, that is freaking weird that they would lose his phone and the laptop just like that.
Yeah. Well, considering, you know, there was a charged laptop and they were running off a generator.
Yeah. Something bizarre is going on.
Interesting.
Well, you know, in the meantime, I guess we will talk a little bit about LBL. Lene says I was never able to get signal at LBL. They had strong signal. I mean, up until we went live, they were fine. We had plenty of signal. We talked to them. We talked to several people that had come up to their camp. The signal was clear. No signal interference. Not even like getting bad audio spikes. It was fine, and then it just died.
Taylor said the laptop was at 78% when they started.
It was at 70% when they started.
78. She put in the chat.
Crap.
Laptop was at 78% when they started.
It went from 78% to nothing. Holy crap. Yeah. Darcy's Wiki says, you guys remember those old transistors you found in the ground? Maybe used for low-level EMP blast to cut through electrical signals. Could be. But we found those electrical boxes we found were in Joe Bald, not in LBL. That's not to say they're not there in LBL, but we never saw any in LBL.
Well, we got weird power drains in Joe Bald too.
Yeah. When I took Robby down to Joe Bald, his phone was at like 80-some%, and it died shortly after we got to Joe Bald. Taylor says we've got a little power bank trying to charge it. If you can steal a jumper cable, stick it to one of those generators, or a drop cord. Chris Burkhardt says running upstairs to grab foil, putting on my hat now. Man, there's enough weirdness going on with that. That is just very bizarre. Darcy's wiki says spirits are also able to drain batteries. God, talk about
that's so strange.
Bad timing,
or kidding.
Suspicious timing. We'll put it that way.
So it was a bad timing or just the right timing.
Yeah, exactly. Very, very, very suspicious timing. But I'm sure if you all are familiar with LBL. LBL is the land between the lakes. It's a public recreation area on the border between Kentucky and Tennessee. It lies between. Oh, hey, there you go.
You still have that power supply? There we go.
What the heck happened, guys?
Oh,
that was freaking bizarre. I mean, you guys were on. It was crystal clear, and then.
Now, Greg's going to get us power supply, so hopefully we'll be okay until he gets back with a power supply. But Tyler's he had like 70-something% battery on his computer, and it just died. My phone.
That is interesting.
Died.
That is freaking weird.
What was going on? So I was like, I can't even call him and tell him what's going on.
I'm at 42% now. In the 2 minutes that it took to do this, we dropped 10% battery.
We're probably going to lose you again.
We dropped
Well, if Greg gets back with that power supply, we should be okay.
All right, I'm going to put him up next to you so you can see him better.
Well, while we've got you, hopefully we don't lose you again. Tell us a little bit about what's going on, what you guys have been doing down there.
Okay. First we talked about what Johnny and I did we did that on the Wednesday night show, but last night we hooked up with Greg and went out.
Greg, so which Greg, so they know who?
I'm sorry. Our buddy Greg Ogles, who has provided the mics for me and Johnny tonight, and has helped us out tremendously with all the electrical and show type stuff. We got Tyler's here with us, and they've been working trying to figure this stuff out. Cause Johnny have no clue what's going on.
Nope.
Miss Naomi has no clue what's going on. She's back behind me right there. Y'all say her. And
Nailma.
and he just died anyway. So last night we come out here, and Greg says, "All right, what y'all want to do?" And I said, "Well, I've never seen orbs, so let's go somewhere where you've seen orbs." And Johnny's like, "Oh, let's do that." So we drive over to this cemetery, and you know this, DA. You've been here. Every road you take's got a cemetery on it. There's like 20 different cemeteries out here, which is weird in itself, but there's like 20 different cemeteries out here. So Greg takes us the cemetery, which I just thought was one of the cemeteries down there, no big issue. And we start seeing stuff. I think here, Taylor wants to get in and say hey.
Hey, Taylor.
Yeah, I don't know what, because Greg asked me this afterwards. He asked me again today. He said, "So what did you think?" I said, "Look, I saw something. I don't know what I saw. I saw lights. And Greg said that they were not sustained. I think was the word that you. They were not sustained orbs. They were just kind of like little quick flashes. But obviously, it's way too cold for it to be any fireflies. Because they were all different colors. We saw green, we saw orange, we saw white, blue, and it was almost like that. Would you say foxfire, Johnny? Is that how you described it?
Yeah.
At one point, I saw it. The best I can describe it is like almost like somebody standing behind a tree. And we know there was nobody out there, but this is just in my mind how I could explain it. And when I explained it to Greg, he was like, "Yep, that's exactly right." It's like somebody standing behind a tree with a flashlight, just kind of waving it real fast, and you just catch the light as it comes from behind one tree limb to another, and then it just disappears. And I kept seeing that too, and then I would see other little white things like zip up into the tree. So what I saw, I don't know, but I saw something like that. But the whole time that I was seeing that, I was focusing on something else because I was hearing movement. I was hearing like twigs snapping, and there again, we were in that spot where there was very little, other.
Lost them again.
Mm.
Well, that sucks. Hopefully, we'll have them back here in a minute. They were working on getting a power bank to try to keep them from losing their power to the laptop. That is still bizarre that they would be at like 78% and then in the span of 15-20 minutes gone.
Well, and they just had the laptop hooked up to a one of those little portable power supplies, like the little porta batteries. Now it's drained.
What the heck?
Bizarre.
Well, I was to mention a little bit about the history. We'll talk a little bit about the history of LBL. It is a public recreation area, public use area of land set aside by the National Park Service for wildlife management, basically. That's the public story. But it's between Lake Barkley and Kentucky Lake on the Kentucky and Tennessee border. The area used to be known as land between the rivers, and it had been known as that area for a long time. Natives in the area, both Choctaw, Cherokee, and even some of the Osage, all referred to that area as cursed land and wouldn't hunt it. And French trappers that went through the area in the late 1600s described encountering what they called the loup-garou, which is the French word for werewolf. So French trappers were seeing things like the Dogman in that area, 400 years ago. Thanks for subscribing, man. Appreciate the subscription. But flash forward to 1963, President John F. Kennedy gives the Tennessee Valley Authority permission to dam those two rivers. And that's when they created Lake Kentucky Lake and Lake Barkley. Turned the land between the rivers into the land between the lakes. And when they did that, they eminent domained all of that land and kicked everybody off of it. Some of the people had been farming and living on that land for generations. So that created a lot of bad blood when people were basically just uprooted and kicked out of their homes. But even today, there's still a lot of bad blood about that because Tennessee Valley Authority never did what they promised with the land. It was supposed to be something that was fixed up there for everybody, but they really kind of let it go to seed. They put in a lot of modern campgrounds and then they did nothing to maintain them. And then when the national parks took over, they didn't do any better. So there's still a lot of bad blood with people about how LBL was handled, especially people that are lifetime from that area. However, well, there they are.
Always me.
I think we got you. I think we got you back, boys.
Oops, they heard me.
Oh, good Lord. We had light.
Yes.
Let's diffuse that. There we go. Greg is going to get an actual power supply so we can plug it in the car. So hopefully it's going. So anyway, while we're on,
Yeah.
give me a quick.
You locked in on something else.
Oh yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Now we're back to shit battery. Great. So Greg, here comes Greg to the rescue.
Yeah. I told you got a 50-foot cord.
Yeah. So I'm focusing on something else.
Maybe he's got a 100-foot cord.
I hear.
Oh my God, this is getting bad.
Yes, it's a comedy of errors here.
Nathan Finn says, okay, what did I miss? That Naomi and Robby are running amok in LBL. Pretty much that and a few other people. We keep losing their signal. It was rock steady and crystal clear up until we went live. And now suddenly the laptop died. The Robby's phone died. They're losing power. They're trying to get connected to a power bank. So I guess we'll see what happens. But I'll go back
into
to
Taylor's car.
There we go.
Watch the car die.
Well, yeah, what's the battery on the car die? That would suck. Smedley Dry says LBL video was challenging. Yeah, when I was there, I couldn't get any phone signal to save my life. There was no going live like we were just doing. I got no signal whatsoever. The only video I was able to record was just with my phone, and it was just not online. It was just record a video and hope it's stored. 3D Havoc says they say the eclipse brings out some negative shadow dark energies. I would not be surprised. Heavy B says a lot of crazy stuff along the Appalachian chain. I live here. Absolutely. A lot of disappearances along the Appalachian Trail as well. It's the 24-hour service, guys. Wouldn't be surprised if there's at least one of them trucks in the area, keeping an eye on things.
Yeah.
But Tennessee Valley Authority, like I was saying, Tennessee Valley Authority kind of dropped the ball, and so did the National Park Service, which left a lot of bad blood with people, especially the people that used to own those lands. And there's still cemeteries and ruins of old settlements all over LBL. When I was there, I found several. In fact, one of the cemeteries is right next to the famous incident where the family in the RV was killed, and that's where Robby and them were last night. They actually got to the what's known as the kill site. I was not able to find it the last time I was there, but I didn't realize I was probably within about 50 yards of it and didn't know it. Because I was just going off of vague descriptions. I didn't have a guide, and Robby got with some locals and found out he was in the exact spot. But oh, there they are.
One more again.
All right.
Oh,
Oh my!
son of a bitch.
I'm gonna be drinking heavy before this one's over.
And I was planning on behaving myself tonight.
Yeah, this is kind of rough. But there's a long history of not only creatures like Bigfoot and Dogman being seen in LBL, but also a long history of people disappearing. There have been famous incidences that you guys have both heard about, and I'm sure some of you haven't. There were the incident with the family in the RV. There was an incident at Demumbers Bay where a couple was murdered by a dogman type creature, and it was allegedly witnessed by a guy from the Parks and Game and Fish, who was in the cove in his boat and saw it happen. Was trying to warn him. Apparently, supposedly that happened in 1978, I think it was. if I remember correctly. It was late 70s when that happened. And then the incident with the RV happened in 82. Then there's the incident that Coonbo has talked about many times with the bow hunter, where they found his campsite destroyed and what was left of his body about 2 miles away dragged into the woods. Now, I don't know about y'all, but I don't know of any animals that do that. A mountain lion will drag a kill, but they'll also drag it up a tree. But mountain lion dragging a grown man that far, that's not normal. Mountain
A lot
lions
of
are
distance.
strong, and mountain lions will drag off a kid. But full grown, say roughly average 200-pound adult male, it's not going to drag that far. Plus, the camp was an absolute wreck. There they are. There we got them again. All right, keep our fingers crossed.
So
Go for it, Robbie. Talk while you can.
keyed in, something moving, and while Greg and Johnny and Tyler are all seeing orbs, I'm hearing something in the woods in front of me. And I've done you know how I am. I've done walked off about 75 yards from everybody else, while everybody else is sitting back up there watching orbs. I'm off down the trail about 75 yards away from everybody. I know, smart guy. Greg told me last night, he said, "You're an idiot." I don't know if it was for that or he just likes calling me that. But anyway, which was it, Greg? Do we know? So
I didn't say that. I said you're an idiot.
Idiot. Okay, sorry. Idiot, not idiot.
You don't never walk alone.
But anyway, I'm hearing all this stuff down there. And I turn around and start walking back up to Greg and Johnny. And Greg said, well, Robbie killed the orbs. They're not wanting to play anymore. And blah, 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 blah. Louder. They can't hear me in the chat, DA? Is that what you said? I can't see the chat scrolling on here like I normally can. So, and my phone's
I
down.
didn't
Your
see
audio
anything.
is a little low compared to ours, but it's still you can hear you, but it's lower than ours.
Okay, now I see it. Tyler's turned it on. So anyway, I walk back up to Greg, and they're like, "Oh, Robbie killed the orbs. They don't want to play anymore." And I leaned over to Greg and whispered, "I said, there's something in the woods over there behind us." And he started listening, and he heard it. Well, at that point, we started hearing stuff all over. We were still seeing orbs. We were hearing sticks and twigs and all that kind of stuff, and leaf litter being moved, and all around us. But at some point, it was so faint that we weren't picking it up on the camera, I don't think. So we turned the camera off and just kind of sat there for a little bit. And then once we turned the camera off, that's when the real stuff started happening. So Johnny decides he's going to do some owl calls, and when he did that, Tyler and I were probably about 20, 30 feet away from them.
I'd say about that.
And we were up there listening with the parabolic mic. So when Johnny started doing the hoot, I could hear him really well. And all of a sudden, he does the first one. I hear a response way off down in the woods. And I looked at Tyler and said, "Did you hear that?" Because, I knew I heard it because I had the mic on, and he actually could hear it too. Johnny does another call. He gets another response. Then he does the third one, and Johnny, I'll let you tell you about the response on that one.
It went, who? And
mechanical like that.
And it was not Horton.
it was an incomplete true owl call or owl return.
Like the first two, Johnny did the hoot, and then the first two mimicked his perfectly. Then the third one, just like he said, just went hoo, just like you said, like somebody smashing the same key on a piano, just repeatedly. There was no inflection or no other tone to it. It's just that. Then right after that, we hear a loud, either a wood knock or a tongue click or something. And at that point, I'm standing there by Greg, and I almost punched Greg in the chest. I'm like, "Did you hear that?" And he's like, "Yes, I heard it." So we're all excited about that. Well, while we're excited about that, Tyler hears something behind us. He gets my attention. He's like, and this is up in the at this point we're hearing the wood knocks and the hoots and all that is down that trail that I was telling you about, DA, which is, the cemetery was behind us, right next to the road. We were facing down the trail at that point. Well, Tyler hears something in the woods behind the cemetery. Well, of course, Tyler and I were kind of concerned about that because she was cold. She was in the car by herself. So Tyler and I kind of go walk up there where the cemetery is, and Greg and Johnny come walking up behind us. As soon as me and Tyler get over to the cemetery, we hear something big off down the woods on that side of the road. Just kind of, it sounded like it just kind of ran and stopped for a second. And I looked back and told them guys, I said, I'm about to hit the light on my headband. I got one of these headband lights, and it's a 450 lumen, Johnny.
Yeah.
So I hit it, and Johnny and Greg saw something on the very periphery off to my right. They saw something kind of back off a little bit.
Just went out of frame.
Went out of frame, basically. Well, me and Tyler are looking down where my beam is shining. And now here's where the creepy part starts. As if dressing stuff looked creepy enough. Now, at the time, we didn't know. We went back today and got the lay of the land. But at the time, when we were looking, I look, and it's like you're looking down a hill. I see green K9 type eye shine. But it looked like it was just like really small, laid on the ground. And it was blinking on and off, like it was blinking. Well, Johnny said, well, that looks like two small eyes, maybe. It was hard to figure it out because it was just like staring at us and it wasn't moving. Well, at that point, Tyler starts, announcing, just so you know, in case this was a person or whatever messing with us, just so you know, we're all armed. And nothing, we were moving around, yelling, talking loud. It never moved. Other than the blinking on, whatever it was, never moved.
Well, people don't have eye shine. Humans do not create eye shine.
And Tyler and I talked about this later on. It looked exactly like when you shine a light on a canine eyes, a dog's eyes. That's exactly what it looked like. Johnny, do you agree?
I agree.
You said it was green?
Yeah, it was like that luminescent green, like when you shine it on a dog's eye.
That's exactly what I saw that night down in DeMumbers Bay when I was bucking back for the van. When I backed out and spun the headlights out, there were several sets of green eyes watching me from the trees.
So this thing just stays looking at it. And and Johnny couldn't see it at first because he was looking through a tree. So I grabbed a hold of Johnny and pulled him over kind of in front of me. And as soon as I pulled him over, he could see it. Greg was standing behind me. Tyler, of course, being as tall as he was standing up over top of it. So we all four saw the exact same thing. Don't know what we saw, but we all saw green. Greg, you agree, green K9?
Yes.
So that's a consensus. All four of us out here saw the exact same thing. It wasn't like one of us saw it. We all four saw the exact same thing. So fast forward to today, Johnny's like, well, before we go back over and meet up with Greg, let's go back over there in the daytime and kind of check it out and see, just see what it looks like in the daytime, maybe get some pictures and things like that. So we go over there, and of course, first place me and Tyler go to is where we were standing. And he knew exactly where we were standing because he was had one foot standing on this big rock that was right beside him. So from there, I walked straight down to about where I thought it was. And when we get down there, the way that there was one draw that came into another draw, and then they funneled into a third that went further down. So when Johnny was looking where me and Tyler was at, he goes, "Nah, wasn't it further back?" I said, "No, it couldn't have been because right behind Tyler and I, it started raising back up. So whatever it was, it had to be right where we were at, and something really big could have been hiding behind that tree, looking up at us, and it would have put it right at the level that we were looking at. And there's no way we would have been able to see it because it went down almost in like
It was a funnel.
15, 20 foot.
Yeah, it funneled down. It's pretty steep.
It was a brown pants moment looking at that, thinking, okay, what could have been down here looking at us or out here looking at us like that? Because we were hearing stuff. It was like whatever it was or whatever they were moving all around us. It wasn't just one. And like I said, it was definitely green. I shined. You shine the light on a dog's eyes. That's exactly what it looked like.
Well,
And
this is interesting. So, dogs and wolves and domestic dogs have green eye shine. Coyotes have red. So, whatever it was, if it was canine, it was more wolf-like than a coyote.
Well, coyotes are rarely quiet, even when they're up close.
Well, we saw coyotes.
But miles prior.
Yeah. But like you said, they're skittish. So they always make noise. And if you're making noise and it's a single coyote, it's going to take off. This thing stayed. It was not. And Pontoon, it was not a deer, because a deer is not going to stay there when people are yelling and making noise. It would ran off.
Yeah.
This thing stayed there and looked at us and watched us.
Yep.
Whatever it was not scared of us moving around, shining a light on it. It stayed there, and it wanted us to know it was there.
It sounds like you had a pretty close encounter with something then.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
How far away do you think it was?
When we
25, maybe 30 feet.
25, 30 feet at the most.
It was close.
Oh, crap.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys
That's
were all
very
armed.
close.
Yeah. It was, and speaking from just for myself, because I don't know how everybody else felt. I was exhilarated last night. I was like, man, that was pretty cool. But then when I went back out today and started looking at, because basically, if any one of us had went that was a perfect ambush site.
Yeah.
I mean, if any one of us had went down it, and DA, Noah, Steve, y'all know me. Y'all know how dumb I am. It's a wonder I didn't just walk down there when I saw it.
Was it similar setup to what we found in Joe Bald that night?
Yeah. Now it wasn't,
And because that was green eye shine too.
Yeah, but it didn't have like a nest but it was just the way those funnels worked into each other. The same type of, almost a game trail running into a draw. It was two draws that went into a bigger one.
Fatal funnel.
Yeah, exactly. Two of them funneled in. So, but the way those two at the top funneled in, it would have perfectly hit anything. Any car driving by would have never seen it. And really, the only way that we saw it is when I stepped down there and flipped my headlight on and caught the eye shine.
Did y'all find any tracks when you went back in the daylight?
Tyler and I looked, and that leaf litter is so thick, and it's like Johnny had his little bionic ear thing in, and he was 20, 30 yards away from us listening, and he couldn't even really hear us moving when me and Tyler and Taylor were walking around over the day. And there was places that looked like it may have been kind of scratched out, but as far as making it, that litter was so thick, there's nothing's gonna make a footprint. He would have just.
That's exactly what I ran into with my encounter in LBL. I mean, I saw the thing plain as day, but the leaf litter was so freaking thick. There was just no way to find a track.
And that's one thing that I have noticed. The leaf litter's thick, and then there's that spongy moss almost under a lot of the ground too. So that it's hard to find anything that's gonna.
That's actually why I was walking along the shore there at Demumbers Bay. I was looking at in the areas that weren't rocky. I was looking for tracks in the mud.
Yeah. Same thing we did.
Yeah.
On Wednesday.
That's about the only place you're going to find a good track is in the mud.
Yep.
Yeah.
So what do you guys? What was your impression of Demumbers Bay?
Ooh, Demumbers Bay. I go back to Johnny's word, unhealthy.
It's an unhealthy zone.
And to answer Casey Galloway, answer your question, honestly, I think probably it was. I mean, I think it was an opportunistic thing that if one of us had come down there, it would have done it. But I don't know that it was like with as many of us as were standing there. I don't know if it was intentionally trying to draw one of us down there, maybe, but I think it would have been an opportunistic thing. Well, if one of them things comes down here, I'm gonna grab it.
It was probably a case of they were trying to figure out what the heck you were doing there. But if you got too close, then you was fixing to be a missing 411.
Yeah. Well, and supposedly, Greg was telling us last night. I don't know. Can't remember if it was that cemetery or one of the others. Supposedly, some people in daylight hours got ran out of one of those cemeteries by a dogman.
Again, does not surprise me, because even that cemetery where you guys were at, as the crow flies, that's only a couple miles from Demumbers Bay. That area is thick woods.
You want me to drop the big bombshell on everybody now, DA?
Go right ahead, man. It's your story to tell, man.
Y'all heard the story we just told, and y'all have heard me and DA and Steve and Doc and Miss Theoma all talk about this LBL story of the family in the 80s that got slaughtered. We found out today. I think Greg was kind of sure, but not 100%. Where we were at last night, where we had this encounter, we were right within probably about 100 to 150 yards from the original kill site. Where we had this encounter.
When I found that little cemetery where you guys were at, I was at that little cemetery and I didn't have a clue how close I was.
Yeah. That kind of makes
Flyby Stu, thank you for the super chat, man. Really appreciate that. Mary Stoughton said, question, where does the Dogman hunt? Answer, anywhere. Oh, I thought she had a question. Anywhere it wants. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we know where it was hunting last night.
Hey, suddenly your audio just got real good.
Huh.
Johnny's is quiet now. Yours got better. Johnny's got quieter.
That's weird.
Did you turn it off?
Anthony.
More stuff, Johnny.
It's got 50%.
Johnny,
You hear me now?
Yeah, we hear you. Anthony says, do Bigfoot use dogmen as their hunting dogs, essentially? I don't think so. From what I've heard of Choctaw legends and from eyewitnesses seeing the two in the same area, I don't think they're friends. I think they're competitors for the same food sources, and if they get in the same area, there's probably going to be a fight.
Well,
what do you think, Robby?
Greg and I talked about this last night. We were talking about, and this was before we saw the eye shine or anything like that. Neither one of us got Bigfoot vibes last night. We got totally different vibes. I got the same vibe last night that I got when I was telling you about last time I was up there in Georgia with Vesca. It was a totally different feeling. It did not feel like a curiosity thing. It didn't feel like, hey,
was it like when we were in Joe Bald?
Yes, that same feeling. It was. I'm not gonna say it felt or that we were getting hunted, but it felt different.
What it felt like?
Yeah, it felt weird, off, different.
Well, when it comes to stuff like that, trust your gut. If your gut says there's danger, there's danger.
In answer to Penny Van's question, most of us here are camping.
Penny, in case you couldn't hear Miss Theoma, she said to answer your question, yes, most people here are camping. Tent camping. And to answer Freddie Habit's question, not anywhere near us, unfortunately, because it's cold.
What's the temperature down there?
Greg, you know what the temperature is right now, or anybody know?
Sub-20s.
53. 53, but it sure don't feel
53.
Like I think you need to flip them numbers. I think that.
Yeah, that's the weather back in South Carolina.
Yeah, that thermometer is dyslexic. Yeah, it's definitely not 52 or 53. It feels like it's. I think the 25 would be.
Well, you're right over there by the lake too, so that air coming off that lake's going to feel 10 degrees colder.
Well, it definitely does. It's definitely cold. Miss Naomi said she's going to go back to the campfire. So
Bring us
Yeah.
back
Hey, Miss
some.
Naoma, thank you for popping in.
No
You be
problem.
safe.
Hi, Nelma.
Always.
Ask her if she brought her barbecue sauce.
I did.
she did.
Gotta put some
Sweet
on
baby
my-
Ray's brings them in every time.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tyler's going to escort Miss Naomi back.
Good. I was going to ask if somebody was walking her back.
Tyler's got
I
her.
don't
I was
want her to
about to
go
say
missing
she's-
between campfires.
Going to get warm, and then the Dogman's going to decide he likes his food hot.
Well, he definitely ain't getting a hot meal with me and Johnny right now.
No.
Or Greg. We're all cold up here. But
Well, you know, it could be a lot worse.
and you know that's a funny thing that just got brought up. We were out there last night, probably getting hunted by Dogman, and we had the Dogman eye candy himself with us. He's over here doing his. You can't see him. He's off camera doing his Dogman eye candy poses. So
I thought it was Ric Flair for a minute.
Woo. Anthony says, have y'all heard about Martin Grove's story? Yeah, I've actually heard him tell it in person. Martin's a heck of a guy. He's there at the campground somewhere.
We're fixing to leave our illumination. Or she's,
yeah,
or,
Do you know
or
how
maybe-
far you are from where Martin's incident happened?
Martin said we wasn't too far. I just matter of fact, right before I made the phone call to you, I was talking to Martin, or either right after. I can't remember if it was before or after. But anyway, he said it was. He said it wasn't too far from where his was. That's Taylor's taking Miss Naomi back over. She's gonna drive her back over. So that's what. The
Okay.
light
Are you guys going to lose power when she drives off?
No, we're powered up through Greg's car now.
Okay.
it has a more romantic glow.
Yeah. But Taylor's she's gonna drive her
Or
back
more
over.
ominous. Guys, I swear, if I see green eye shine behind you guys, I'm going to freak out.
Well, just subtly go.
Yeah, I'll be like,
And that subdued lighting, if you guys end up being victims, Dogman's going to get him a snuggle with a struggle.
Steve, just crack a flight for me, brother.
just see where you guys go backwards out into the darkness. We'll know something's up.
Well, when you guys disappeared earlier, I tried to summon you like Doc, and the DA had to remind me that y'all don't drink whiskey. So I popped open the other flight that I had. You still didn't show up. So
Hey, I've gotten better. I've been drinking more whiskey lately.
There's hope for you yet.
yep. As dumb as I gave you credit for.
So where else? What else have you guys encountered while you were there?
Well, Orbs, Bigfoot, and Dogman. I mean, Greg, what you gonna put us on tonight?
Bigfoot.
I
We're
say,
gonna go after some Bigfoots tonight, apparently.
Heck
I
yeah.
say, you get some Bigfoot or aliens, you'll have the full set.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting question you guys might like. Let me pop that one up. Edward Mullendore says, I got one for you. If a dogman kills a cow and doesn't eat it all, will a coyote come in and eat on it? From what I've heard, a lot of suspected kills. God dang it. I'm trying to get that off the screen, and every time I go to click on it, it moves. Anyway, the suspected dogman kills, other animals will leave it alone. Even insects will leave it alone. I'm not sure
I've heard
why.
that too. I don't know if. I mean, I've heard it, but I don't know if that's Johnny, have you heard anything about that?
I just chalked it up to bad enzymes or something. I don't know.
Greg, have you heard anything about that? That if a dogman makes a kill and doesn't finish it or whatever, other animals will leave it alone, like coyotes and things like that. Have you heard anything about that?
Actually, I'm kind of clueless about that.
I've heard it. But I
It's
don't,
probably a territorial marking kind of thing.
yeah, I mean that it could very well be.
So those pictures you posted on Facebook groups, you guys found, you guys were taking pictures down to Mumbers Bay, but you found that big old fish carcass. That thing was pretty damn good sized.
Yeah, I put my orca next to it for scale. So
Mm-hmm.
all y'all that know how big the orca was, that just shows you how. They was coming back. Sorry, that was bright. Yeah, I'd say that was probably what.
It's over a 10-pound fish, 10 to 15-pound fish.
And it
How close to shore was it?
right on the bank. I mean, like literally
Yeah,
inches out of the water, probably.
yeah, it was just sitting there tossing right there at the rocks at the shoreline.
And there were.
So you think that was somebody just filleted it out and threw the carcass back? Or?
It's a whole fish.
Yeah, we found bones, and then we found whole fish skeletons that were just there, and then the one of the whole fish that was over here, just right across the lake from where we're at right now.
Mm.
But the skeleton, which I think I sent you a picture of that. I didn't put that on Facebook. But the ones that Johnny took on the DSLR, Tyler's going to get all that stuff straightened out. We'll post all that stuff at some point. Cameraman never dies. Now, are you talking about Johnny or are you talking about Tyler? Because
Yeah.
Because Johnny was just carrying the camera, taking pictures yesterday. Tyler's actually the cameraman. So, but anyway, yeah, we found like whole skeletons. That it was just like the fish was eaten and left
a
laying
leg.
there. Yeah.
I know.
We're going, bud.
But yeah, this is a weird place. I mean, it's like I said, Tyler and I were talking today, and I said, this is one of those places, one of those times. We didn't know all this, the gathering was going to be here. We were just planning on it being us, and I'm glad there's a lot of people here, especially like Greg, who's been here for a while or been here more than once. And this is a place that it probably wouldn't be a good idea of coming here one or two people, because you probably would end up being missing 411 if you ain't careful.
I went to Demumbers Bay about 2 a.m. by myself like an idiot.
Yep, as
Not
Greg
my
would say,
brightest moment.
that would be an idiot move.
Yes, it was. Looking back, I wouldn't do it again. But I was dumb enough to do it the first time. I got a super chat from Dwayne Milton. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
But
So, did you have any activity while you guys were at the cemetery? Did you hear anything walking around, or feel like you're being followed or watched
you mean today or last night?
during the day? Because I had that happen to me twice at two different cemeteries.
I didn't feel anything today. I don't know if any of the
We
rest.
did have the hikers. That was
Yeah.
There
There
was a couple families were
There
there.
was a couple. We weren't the only ones there today. There was like 2 or 3 different families. It's like what, 6 or 7 people that were there. So
The times it happened to me, I was the only one there.
no, that's 3D Havoc. That's Steve's job. I didn't have Steve here with me to mark trees. Sorry.
See, you might have gotten a little bit more of a sighting if they came to check that out.
Brother, I think we got just about all the sighting we wanted.
Almost more than you wanted.
Yeah. When I flipped that light on, I saw that. I was like, at first it was like, okay, down low to the ground. It's got to be a small animal. And that's, like I said, it looked like it was down low to the ground. But now going back and looking, it was because of the way the ground was angled down is what made it look like it was lower to the ground than probably what it was. So.
Bye, Stu. Have a good night, man. Thank you for being here. Who was it that? Mary D says, I have no idea where LBL is. I live south of Chicago, down near the southern tip of Illinois, where it meets with Kentucky. If you travel into Kentucky from there, you'll find land between the lakes. It's about 250,000 or 270,000 acres of land that were set aside as a wildlife management area. and it's right on the Tennessee and Kentucky border between Kentucky Lake and Lake Barkley.
Yeah, it's like, you know, Greg made this comparison today. It's like there's certain parts of this stuff is just so beautiful in this park. You know, it's like, because, you know, Johnny and I went to the Bison and Elk Prairie and drove through that, and that whole area is just like beautiful. Where they got set aside for the wood bison and the elk, and then you go to like around the Mumbers Bay and a place like that, and it's just like an alien world. It's just, it feels dead and just devoid of all any kind.
Did you notice how quiet it was at the Mumbers Bay?
Yes. Yeah, that Johnny made that. He's like, man, there's not even any ducks out here. There's no aquatic birds. I made a video, and I'll send you that video later today. But it's just like quiet. You can hear a crow way off in the distance, and you hear one little Tweety bird close. But other than that, the only sound you hear is my feet crunching as I'm turning around taking the video. And
That's the way it was when I was there, dude.
And that's in broad daylight, right next to the lake, at about 10:30, 11 o'clock. And was there, Johnny?
Yeah. And no squirrels,
Yep.
no possums, no coons, no armadillos, which they claim are rampant up here.
Same
Still
thing
yet-
when I was there. I didn't even see any roadkill in the north end of LBL. Nothing.
We haven't seen one on any part of the LBL we've traveled yet.
No roadkill. Now, when I was traveling to LBL outside, but all the way leading into Grand Rivers, there was roadkill everywhere. And near where we stayed in Grand Rivers, there were deer walking through the campground. You know, I mean, there was animals all over the place, possums and squirrels and the whole 9 yards. But, you know, not 2 miles from where we were staying, when you crossed that bridge over the canal into North LBL, nothing.
Yeah, and that's exact. You cross under that underpass from one side to the other, and it's just almost like you're going into another world. And another thing that we noticed about the deer, other than the fact that they work second shift here, as Johnny pointed out, they're in big herds. You don't see 1 or 2 deer. We were seeing like 15 and 20 deer together, grouped up together. That's, to me, that's kind of weird as a deer hunter, because you don't usually see that many deer grouped up together.
DA,
Only if there's a big predator in the area.
has
Johnny?
anybody ever looked at ley lines, where they may cross in this area?
I have not. But give me just a second, and I'll pull up a map of ley lines and see if there are any in your area. Well, give me just a second.
I guess Naomi ain't gonna bring no fire back with her, is she?
Probably not. She was going to make sure it was still warm up there.
I look at DA and Steve wearing t-shirts. Steve's wearing a damn Hawaiian hat.
Because we're indoors.
Oh, yeah. I'm sitting in a 68-degree office.
So I might have to put the hood up. It's cold out there.
We've got a pretty good image that I just found of ley lines over the United States. Let me pull that image up, and I'll share it on the screen. Okay, there we go. Let me share this image. All right, here's the map of ley lines. It's going to get kind of blurry. Let's see. There's St. Louis. I'm going to guess, unless I'm missing my guess, I think LBL is probably right on one of these 2 ley lines.
Ooh, that's it.
Yeah. Because the tip of Illinois is right where the D in Springfield, Missouri is.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's somewhere around in here.
It's probably the intersection of all of them.
That would not shock me.
Oh,
That would not
shit.
shock me that it would be right there.
Yeah,
think
you got that red ley line that's running practically west to east, and then you've got the blue one that's kind of,
was right.
northwest to southeast. The intersection.
Yeah.
'Cause
What
that intersection's right on the Tennessee border.
So if it's not directly on one, it's damn close to a nexus point.
Yeah, that explains a lot.
Yeah.
Tyler
That
done,
was a good idea, Johnny. I never even thought of that.
whooped out the paper map over there behind us. He's looking up stuff now.
If Joe Bald's on one. I'm going to do some research on some of these really weird areas and see where the ley lines fall. I'm going to have to do a little digging and find a much better map of ley lines, though.
That might be a good thing for a show too. Da is
Connection
see
between these
how-
places and ley lines. That's a good
lines
idea.
and Man-made, because we've already
Man-made
got-
lakes.
Yeah,
And if they're passing through man-made lakes, that's where those closed campgrounds are. Dude, we're just finding more little strands of web. My wall is going to look like a conspiracy theory with all these little freaking strands of freaking yarn connecting all the push pins.
yeah. I used to kid about that. If that's what your riding room looked like with all the red strings, it's really gonna look like that now.
It
My
wasn't far
hair's already
from it
growing.
before.
Yeah, so,
DA need to get it pulled up like that alien dude. Aliens.
I don't have enough hair to pull that off, so
I say, I'm almost there.
your eyes aren't quite crazy enough, Steve.
No, they don't open quite far enough either.
Yeah.
My damn squinty eyes.
Lori Barnes says no, like a murder investigation. DA, you're not wrong. Looks like I'm getting out the big cork board again and hanging that thing back up, putting the map back on it. That's all right. I don't mind. 3D Havoc says just wait. He has whiskey somewhere to help with the crazy eyes.
Yep.
Harry Cole says, what are ley lines? Ley lines are natural lines that flow all over the planet that seem to have something to do with either spiritual or magical energy. Nexus points seem to be where they've built a lot of structures, like Stonehenge is on a nexus point. Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany is on a nexus point. A lot of Native American mound builders constructed these large mounds on nexus points. The Great Pyramids at Giza, those are on a nexus point. Teotihuacan on a nexus point. A lot of the Mayan temples were all on ley lines.
Was on the nexus point.
Do what?
I said, and it appears that LBL is on one.
Maybe on a nexus point. So there's something going on here that probably is more closer connected to the ley lines than we know.
Greg, that could answer that question that you asked me last night about when we were talking about all the different types of activities that you've seen here. If that's true and this is a nexus point, that could be the answer right there.
Very well could be.
Mary Staunton says, DA, where can I get a map of those ley lines that you just showed? I just Googled ley lines real quick and pulled up one of the first maps I found. It's not even a very good one, and it's not very high resolution. So I'm going to do some searching and see. I may have to buy one off of Amazon or go to one of the university libraries here in town and see if I can find one. But I want a very good physical copy. I call me old school, call me crazy, but I would much rather have a physical copy than an electronic copy. Although electronic copies are much easier to zoom in on.
Apparently, there is a setting on Google Earth that you could click to have Google Earth pull up ley lines.
No kidding.
There's a
did not
YouTube
know
video that says you could do it. Of course, I can't click on the video without losing this one, but I just saw it on a search. I'm like,
I am going to give that a shot. I am definitely going to give that a shot.
Brian's in the house. He said, "Hey,
Hey, what's up, man? How you doing, Brian?
The Hulk himself is in the house.
Mrs. Moon says closed campground maps too. I'm still gathering a lot of information on those closed campgrounds. I just got an email today that someone had sent me something. I'm not going to mention their name because this information they sent me, well, it may not be publicly available. We'll put it that way. But it is. They were working for a department that had a lot to do with that. We'll leave it at that. And they sent me some documents that, well, they may be a few years old, but I may spend some time driving back roads to see which ones are no longer on the map. Because if I compare that list of campgrounds with a modern list from Army Corps of Engineers, and there are ones that are missing, those are the ones I'm going to go find.
Brian, we're at what was it, Colson
Group camp.
Colson Hollow Group Camp where we're at right now.
Nathan Finn says, "Okay, I just looked at a map and it shows the LBL crossing point of 3 lines."
Yep, we go, Johnny. It's a nexus.
Woo!
Did you hear that, Greg?
That explains a lot.
Yep, that sure does.
Nathan, will you do me a favor, bud? Reach out to me. You don't have to do it right now. Just like sometimes give me the links on where you found those, and maybe you and I can put our heads together and look for some places that might coincide with that particular theory.
All right, thanks, Dino Bravo fan. Anything for the algorithm in the channel. You see what he said?
If Dogman takes him now, will you still stay live? Yeah, because I'm 6 hours away. It's not like I can help him.
Well, we're an hour into the video, so the ninjas are probably no longer manually watching it. So
Folks, I know we
Might as well get the
normally
views over
do our affiliates. I'm just gonna take a second and say, check out darkangelmedical.com, use discount code Cryptid25. Check out scallywagtactical.com, use discount code DA Roberts10 for 20% off your order up till the end of this month. And check out brockblades.com, use discount code Cryptid10 for 10% off your order. And that's pretty much all we're gonna do on the subject of the affiliates tonight, because since these guys are live in LBL, I don't want to cut away from them. Because you never know what might happen or what we might hear on that mic.
Well, I'm watching the dark behind me and Johnny just to make sure there's no green eye shine that pops up behind us.
Well,
I will tell you if I see green eye shine. You'll see me going.
Don't worry.
reading the video. Author D.A. Roberts has heart attack on live television.
If you guys do go missing, I'll be there in about 6 or 7 hours, but I'm coming.
Grab me on the way.
I will. And a hatchback load of ammo and firearms.
Well, I say
Like I said, Rocky is very close.
4G Wi-Fi. Yep. 4G Wi-Fi on the Buick and 350 miles to the gallon.
We have quite a
Or to
few
the tank.
items that are very
What was that?
close to reach, so we're good.
So, without giving away exact location, about where are you located in LBL?
Colson Hollow campground is where we're at right at the moment. That's where.
Okay, I'm not sure where that's at right off the top of my head.
South Midwest.
Yeah. Go on.
Okay.
Tyler's got the map right here. I don't know if I can, how good I can see it, but
Hey, we got a super chat from Big V. Thank you, sir.
yeah, right here.
Appreciate that, man.
Let's see. There's the Elk and Bison Prairie. Yeah, we're down. You know where the Elk and Bison Prairie is, DA?
Yep. No, right where that's at.
Okay, we're down. We're basically down below that. You go past the Elk and Bison Prairie and go under the underpass and keep on going that way. That's It's on the alive side.
Just pulled it up on the map.
As
Yeah,
you
you're
see,
pretty far south of where the kill site was, but still in the north half of the park.
it takes us about
30. It takes 35 minutes to get to the kill site.
35 minutes from
Yeah,
where we're at right now.
You're a bit farther south, but you're right on the shore of Kentucky Lake. I was thinking you were on Lake Barkley side. That's no, but DeMumbers Bay's on Lake Barkley side.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the Mumbers Bay is like if we left here right now to go back to where we would pass the Mumbers Bay before we would get back to the actual site where we were at last night in the kill site from the 1980.
Pity Van says, please tell them to keep an eye on the moon. It tends to do odd things and not all see it in the same area. It turned into an orange glow and odd things happen. Another super chat from Brian. Hey, Brian, thanks, buddy. Appreciate it, dude.
Brian?
And yeah, moonrise won't be until like 4 in the morning or something.
A woman was walking her dog a couple of days ago at High Falls State Park in Georgia. They found her floating below the falls. That's wild. I need to look into that more. There was Mary D says, explain kill site. The kill site is the location of the famous 1982 attack that happened in LBL where a family of 4 was wiped out by a dogman, possibly more than one. Mark Napier says, can you drive to DeMumbers Bay? Yeah, you can drive right down into DeMumbers Bay. There's no hiking involved. However, there's lots of places you can get out and walk to right there from DeMumbers Bay. I mean, it is a huge area and it's pretty isolated.
Yeah. At the time you were down there, you were still pretty incapacitated, weren't you?
I was still walking with a cane. Yeah, I was still walking with a cane, so I was ambling around pretty slowly.
The dogman almost thought he had a corn dog. He had a lung pig on a stick.
Ooh, look at here. I got a corny dog.
I got a corny dog.
So have you guys heard any vocalizations or anything?
Right now?
Hey, DA, if something happens, we have to take off. Greg just said that we may have to. Is she missing or?
Yeah, they went down to the Devil's Backbone. The person coming back said that they were being paced by something, just like Bigfoot will, pace you coming out. And the little girl and I think her dad or something were down there and they haven't come back out yet.
Did you hear any of that?
Yeah, you've got a couple of people missing.
Yeah, they haven't come back yet. So if something happens, we have to take off. They may need people to go.
How far is that from you?
Not far.
Not far. Devil's Elbow or Devil's Backbone?
Devil's Backbone.
Devil's Backbone. You know where that's at?
Yeah, I know right where that's at. Well, I hope you guys have got plenty of flashlights and things that go bang in the dark.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, I hear Dogman.
You got to go. Be careful, but I got it. I understand why you get it. You'd have to go. I'm sure the cop in you is already screaming to go look anyway.
Oh, Johnny, do you feel the table jumping right now?
That's me.
That's me too.
I'm ready to go.
I'm going to go confirm.
Yeah, Greg's going to go confirm and he'll let us know.
Okay, well, if you guys need to take off, dude, keep me posted, and I hope you guys find them all right. But a single adult with a kid going down in a place like that where they've already had people paced out, especially in LBL, not the smartest of moves.
Well, I've got the bounty. I've got the gunner's mate. I've got the Dewclaw. Johnny's got a bunch of axes. I got Rocky. Johnny, you got.
I got Bullwinkle.
Rocky, he's got Bullwinkle. And I've got the dagger for Tyler.
Okay.
Yes, we're good.
Yeah, this might quickly turn into a missing person search. And unlike any other missing persons, since you guys are already down there and aware of it, this one can't be shut up, which happens so often with people that go missing in LBL. You know, there's quite a few people go missing in that park every year, and the story just gets buried. Not far from where you guys are, because you guys are down close to where that interstate cuts through. Not far from where you guys are, there were two sisters, teenage girls, found butchered, and they claimed it was the work of a serial killer, but they were basically mauled.
Well, and another thought here too, you know, YouTube could do whatever they want with the video. You know, the Google gods tend to do their things, but last count there was 199 people besides all of us that witnessed this conversation.
Right. So it's hard to completely get rid of that. All evidence of it anyway. I don't know, how many of you guys got there in the campground, but I'm sure it's enough to go, form a pretty big search party pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
Hell, you got some of the biggest names in Bigfooting within spitting distance of where you're sitting right now.
Yep. And I don't know what Dino Bravo fan was asking if I'm drunk or not scared of the Dogman, but dude, if there's a little girl that's been missing, I don't give a crap what it is. I'm going to take care of it. And no, I'm not drunk or anything like that. That's just me. So I don't know what you're talking about, but you don't know me if you're asking a question like that about me. Because these two guys above me right here and this guy beside, we're going to go help people if they need to be helped. I don't care what.
Absolutely.
It could be the devil himself, and I'll just tell him get out of his way or get out of my way.
Yeah. How far down the trail is that spot where they're at from the road?
With the one that Greg was just talking about? I don't know how far it is from where we're at. He said it wasn't far. I mean, I don't know other than the places that I've already been.
Yeah, I don't know the area.
Huh?
We don't know the area.
Yeah,
we haven't been there
we
yet.
don't know the area. I'm
I'm gonna give you guys fair warning. If you get off trail, it is stupid easy to get turned around in LBL. It is, because it's not like any other woods I've ever been in. I mean, you can look at things that look familiar. You can look for landmarks, but in LBL, once you get off the track, it just all looks the same. It's almost like it doesn't want you to find your way out.
Yeah, and that
place is creepy.
Even in broad daylight, it looks that way.
Well, when I was down in DeMumbers Bay, when I played the Dying Rabbit Call, I walked from where I'd parked my van. I left it running with the headlights on, pointed down toward the water, and I was right there where that little concrete slab goes down to the water. I walked down that and walked off the side of it looking for tracks, and I was following the lake shore. And if I had gone out in the woods, I could have got turned around really, really easy. But I stuck to the edge of the water, and I was probably 40, 50 yards down the shore from where the ramp meets the water. And that's when I played that Dying Rabbit Call, and I started hearing stuff moving toward me, and I realized just how far I'd gotten. To me, it just seemed like I'd walked a few steps. I mean, granted, I wasn't really paying attention how far I'd gone, but I didn't really feel like I'd gone that far from the ramp. And when I looked back and saw where my headlights were, it's like, oh shit, I'm a lot farther away than I realized. And it's easy to do.
Well, it's like last night, Johnny thought that I was a lot further away than I actually was, just because it's hard it gets so freaking dark, and the way those trees just kind of, because he said, we went back up there today, and he said, walk out to where you was at. And he said, dang you, I was still about 75 feet away, but it was like one of those, just the way everything plays with you. You don't. Okay.
AHR 797 says, I think there were two different attacks a few months apart or a few weeks. One was kept under wraps on info, but a young boy survived. I think it was after the whole family attack. I'm not sure which incident you're talking about, but if it's the RV park, I don't know how much credibility I put in the alleged survivor story. I'm not going to go into a lot of details. We don't do the drama here on the show. Let's just put it this way: that we don't believe the story that the survivor put out, and leave it at that. C. Blanton says, I'm watching on TV. Just had to say about Spencer being a tracker too, in case they need help finding people. There you go. Robbie's definitely a tracker.
Yep.
Larry Berlin has a good question. This is something I never checked. Does a magnetic compass work in LBL?
You know what? I got one. I'll have to. I got my Lensatic with me.
Because I've heard of compasses acting weird near focal points of ley lines. So it very well could.
That would be something kind of. If everything is good and we don't have to worry about things, which Tyler went to check and see if anything or everything's good.
Okay. Well, if you guys need to take off, just go. We'll take care of the rest of the show and we'll be just fine. But if you guys, it's far more important you guys help find a missing couple of dad and a daughter. It's far more important you help find missing people than our show. We will, even if we have to end the show right then, because like I said, that is definitely far more important.
Well, that's what they went to find out. See, you know how it is when by the time it comes back here, they may already be back. We don't know, so that's why Greg and Tyler went up there to see. They could.
It's like playing a game of telephone.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, as soon as you know what's going on, like you said, they may have already made it back to camp. But if you guys need to go, then by all means, that is fine.
Oh yeah, I've already got the go bags right here beside me. So.
Well, you've got Coonbo right there in the campground too, and that dude's a tracker.
Yeah. Coonbo's right over. I mean, literally, I'm looking at his camper right here beside me.
And you get the guys from Sawdust Beast. I would definitely grab them too.
No.
Well, I'm sure
I don't think I want to mess with a group of y'all.
I'm sure the entire campground is going to be mobilizing and going. And that's why I ain't seen anything else or heard any movement. So I'm hoping that means everything's good and they came back. But
have you got one of Doc's kits just in case you need it?
Yep. And
all right, good.
And I've got thermal camera. Andy Glenn was just asking about that. I've got a thermal camera, and Greg's got that Psionics camera, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, what's the moon like where you guys are at? Penny was wanting to know what the moon's like. Is it too cloudy?
No, moonrise won't happen until about 2 or 3 in the morning.
Okay.
But the wind is still blowing.
Yes. At least we got the
wind. Hell
wind
here today too. Annie Venom says Mark Newbill has a FLIR. I want a FLIR. There's a lot of gear I'd like to have, but probably not going to happen for any time near future. So, assuming everything is okay with them, where are you guys heading out tonight?
Greg says we're going to a different location tonight than we went last night. He didn't say.
Because they say there's more Bigfoot activity in the southern half of LBL and more Dogman activity in the northern half.
Well, and he said that we were going for some Bigfoots. I would assume we're going southern.
Well, right there, you guys are pretty close to where the wood bison and the elk are, and there tends to be quite a bit of overlap of Bigfoot and Dogman sightings right there, because those are great prey sources for both of them.
Yeah, it's about 5 miles that way, John?
Yeah, it's about 6 miles north of us.
Yeah.
I honestly think that's why those were reintroduced there anyway.
Yeah, the food source. We talked about that on
to try to keep the predation on people down.
Makes sense. I mean, I've never eaten human, obviously, but I'm pretty sure that the elk and bison taste better. I have eaten those.
Well, maybe they got a taste for long pig. There are wild hogs in LBL too, but I never saw any.
Well, we saw just right across the bay here when we were walking the other day. We saw some hog roots. We got that day.
It's not anybody from us, but there are somebody else.
So it's not anybody from our group. It's just somebody's here.
Yeah, it's somebody else hiking in the area.
Okay, it's not anybody from our group. It's somebody else. But so do we need to go? Okay, okay, they're mobilized and everything, getting logistics and everything, and they said they'd let us know if we need to go or whatever. But it's not anybody from our group. It's just somebody who's hiking out here. So they will let us know.
That is a dangerous area to hike if you're not prepared.
Yeah,
it's going to drop below 30 degrees tonight. It's not survivable at night.
We stand ready. Right.
David Neal says, have you guys seen any kill sites or bones from kills other than the fish?
Other than fish bones,
I found a partial armadillo shell, but it was old and bleached out.
Yeah, dead animals are few and far between in the LBL. And then, especially in the north part where I spent most of my time, I didn't find any. No signs of roadkill, no dead animals out in the woods. I was all over the north end, and I didn't see a damn thing. I don't know. And the only animals I even heard the whole time I was there was a few birds.
Well, you're working on the assumption that there are Bigfoot and Dogman out there, which I'm totally inclined to agree with. Any animal with the speed and size to do it's going to unask the AO pretty much and keep themselves out of harm's way, I would think.
Real quick, DA Thad wanted me to, or 3D Havoc wanted me to go over my go bag right quick. Let me do that right quick.
Sure, go for it.
I've got just this little Yukon. Obviously, got the Wild Hunt patch on there.
That's awesome.
Got my med kit up front. Also got extra bullets. Got my dew claw on there. My gunner's made on the front tab. This is one of those cross the chest bags. I've got, like I said, meds. I've got 3 or 4 different colored electrical tapes that you can mark, use for blaze trail or mark anything else. You pull out, wrap it around a tree. That way you can either do like if you want to split off and you want to mark one trail one color, on another trail the other color. I've got a bunch of different colors, so you can just do different things like that. I've got a lensatic compass, paracord.
Need to put you a couple space blankets in there.
I think I actually have at least one in there.
Do you have a life straw?
Yes, I have a life straw. Have bug spray, obviously. Got fire starter material. Got the little, what do you call it? The kindling material that's in the little ropes that you can just spray off pieces of it. And I've got the Ferris rod and striker. What else? I've got emergency whistle. Got emergency fishing equipment. Got a few little things for like casting in here. Got popsicle sticks and things like that for like shoring up around the edges of the track. Johnny's got a big bag.
That's a good topic for another show sometime. We need to do, what to put in what to have prepared for a good go bag.
Yep.
Yeah.
And, I've just got a little bit of everything stuffed in here. I mean, I've got stuff that, and I'll obviously keep, these gloves are always, because I've got a good D-ring carabiner. It's got the little closure on it, the little twist closure on it. And I keep these D-ring to that, but that also gives me that good carabiner if I need it for anything else. It's got the pack's got the multi-tab attachments and everything on it, so I can attach things to it. I got this pack at Bucky's for like $40. It's a great pack. Obviously, it's a good color, and you know, but it's good and durable. It's got a nice, strong handle on it. It's also got a nice little spot in the back, a little webbing spot in the back that I can actually carry my Glock 43. It fits perfectly down inside there, so I could actually put another weapon in there if I needed to. So, you know, a good go bag is really what you make of it. I mean, there's other things that I could put in it. There's some things that I could probably take out of it, but you know, it's better to have something than not have anything.
It sounded to me like you had pretty much everything covered. You might want to throw you a couple of like really good nutritious power bars in there.
That's probably about the only thing I don't have. I've got an e-tool in there. I've got one of those little multi hatchets. I've got a range finding card for, you know, if I've got my rifle and I need to, you know, find range.
Maybe a pace counter.
Yeah, range beads. Yeah, that's something I could get on there. I don't have any of those. What else? I've got, you know, like the little multi spoon, fork, thing like that. If I need something, I've got chlorine tabs. You know, just anything that I could think of that you know, is going to help if something happens and I get lost, or if I come across somebody that needs first aid or anything like that. But like I said, there's things that I could probably put in there. There's things that I could probably take out.
This heifer here says, just got a tingly feeling. Is it silent where you are, Robby?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than Taylor's car over there, Frank, yeah, it's pretty quiet.
That, to me, that was my experience in LBL. It was dead quiet everywhere I went.
Yeah. It's an eerie silence.
Yeah.
So the way you
If you're
described
there
it,
by
DA,
yourself, it's an uncomfortable silence.
the way you described it, DA, was kind of like that one Stephen King movie where like the one where all the lights were subdued and fire wouldn't start and whatever. It's just kind of, everything is just kind of lifeless. It was strange the way you kept
It is
talking
kind of
about
a dead zone.
Yeah, it wasn't Dead Zone. I was thinking of, I can't think of the name of the film. It's the one that's got Bronson Pinchot and Dean Stockwell in it.
Oh,
the guys
the
on the
Langoliers.
plane. Langoliers,
Langoliers.
thank you. The way you described it, that's what came to mind. You know, since I've never been there.
It's creepy. And Steve, you've been to Joe Bald. I would say honestly, yeah, I don't know if you agree with me or not. I would say this is a little bit creepier than Joe Bald.
I would agree.
Not
Yeah.
by a whole,
Joe Bald is
but
creepy, but Joe Bald's also an area of about 100 acres. LBL is just miles of creepy. Annie Venom wants to know if you carry a personal locator beacon.
I don't have an EPIRB. But that's, like I said, there's things that I could, but I've never fought for the money to get one. I know I should have one, but
I'm going to move the guys up so people can see them better when a question comes up. I'll sit in the 6 o'clock.
Tracy Hull says 2 cats have been attacked where we live. That's a good sign if you've got some sort of big predator in your area when small animals start disappearing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the weird thing about LBL is there are no small animals. None that I saw anyway.
really, I don't plan on being lost, so that's why I really haven't. I kind of trust myself and the ones that I go out with. I mean, I know but I just haven't.
I'll put my money on Robby finding his way home. Well, you said that that area where the father and daughter were heading, that other people are reporting being paced out of there.
Yeah.
Was that just earlier today?
Yeah. Yeah, Tyler went and got the
30, 45 minutes ago.
about 30, 45 minutes ago. Tyler went and got the
Oh shit.
full lowdown on it.
So how long have they been missing?
That just left 30 or 45 minutes ago, or we're supposed to be back, Tyler?
So they went out with a group. The whole group said that they felt like they were being paced out. Everybody left. The dad and the daughter were the only ones that weren't
Okay.
at the end.
Why would you leave your group? That's bad mojo.
Yeah, that's somebody who doesn't know what they're here getting into.
Right.
Yeah.
That's somebody who comes
Has
here
an
and knows what the mystique or what the whole. Oh, let's just go somewhere and walk around the woods at night.
Yeah.
So they either didn't believe, weren't told, or for whatever reason.
For their adrenaline junkies.
Penny Van has a good comment for you. Let me see if I can pull it up. It popped up off the screen. Said, tell them to be vigilant of music in the distance. Do not try to find the source. I've heard recordings of odd music out there. You know, I've heard stories about that too, so it wouldn't surprise me.
We hadn't heard no music or anything like that, but like I said, those owl hoots last night that were answering Johnny. Now see, they were way off in the distance. I feel like that was probably Bigfoot. Other than maybe that last one. But after that, 100% that was not any Bigfoot vibes at all. That
last one. That still got me messed up.
Dad Brown wants to know if you've got your badge with you.
Of course I've got my badge now. I'm breathing.
I was going to say, if I don't know what your department was, but we were required to keep ours on us.
Right there. There she be.
There you go.
We were always told, if you're off duty and you're carrying your weapon, your badge needs to be clipped right next to it. And I carried conceal. Hell, I still carry and conceal everywhere I go.
Well, he's not big on it. We got those IDs. And that's what he wants us to make sure we have. He's not so crazy of us. Well, you better have that badge. The ID is the main thing, because it's got our picture, it's got his signature, it's got our rank, it's got all that stuff on it.
I still carry my ID. Casey Calloway says, DA, who is Jay Matoska to you? I have now found him in book 6 of Ragnarok series. Jay Matoska is based on my uncle Buddy, who passed away a few years ago. But my uncle Buddy was very much like him. Pretty much everything I know about hunting and tracking and fishing, I learned from him. We got a super chat from Kat. Says $5. DA Vault says hello. We both love your show and books. Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Tell him I said hi. Where'd Johnny go?
The thing with the badges, it's.
All right, guys, we got to go.
All right.
Uh-oh.
Hey, guys, be safe. Robbie, call me or text me or something as soon as you know something. You guys be careful. Make sure you got your kit with you. And we're all praying for you.
We got it, brother.
All
my
right.
phone's dead, but I'll try to charge it and be able to get you.
Just have Taylor text me if your phone's dead. But be safe. Be careful.
We'll love you guys.
God, I wish I was there to go with you.
Love you too, buddy. I'll be praying for you, man. And praying for that family.
Y'all be safe. Ooh. We were joking on Wednesday saying, something weird might happen while we were there. When we did kind of weird when we kept losing the signal. But to have missing persons right there at that campground. Oh my God.
I don't scare too easily, and that pretty much puckered my asshole.
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Every fiber of my instinct is screaming, wishing I was there, because I've got the training and the equipment to help, and I feel bad that I can't.
The only thing I'd be able to do of any use would be to help fix them, assuming that they find them injured and alive. But
Well, even if they were just exposure, having somebody who's trained medically is the right call. Um,
boy,
3D
hard to
Havoc
follow
says,
for
DA,
that.
how would you organize a group with organize a search with a group of people? First thing you would want to do is identify who all was there, get a physical head count, and preferably if you can write down names and start with a central point. Everybody, this is our starting point. This is our base camp. This is where we're going to meet back up at this time. And you would, if you've got a map of the area, you spread that out and you show each person where they go, what areas they're searching, which trail they're taking. But if you're walking a picket, you're going to have everybody stand out within about 10 to 20 feet intervals. Was depending on the thickness of the undergrowth, you would have them picketed out where they could still see each other. But ideally, if you're just searching trails and people are taking different directions, especially if you don't have a whole lot of people, walkie-talkies are great, but they don't always work, especially when you get down in hills and valleys. Cell phones will fail you. It's hard to guarantee communication if you don't have police level technology or military level technology, because those little handsets that you can buy at the store generally don't carry very far down those hills and valleys. They're better than nothing though, and I have some of those from when we go out, because we never get more than a couple hundred yards apart when we're out there. They've got a range of about 3 miles on a good day. Stay in communication. Make sure you've got at least one person who's a trained medic if you can. If not, again, you'll take some of Doc's online classes. Some of them are free. At the very least, you need to make sure you know how to apply a tourniquet, and that's at the very least, because a bleed that far off the trail like that probably going to be fatal if you don't get the bleeding under control fast. We're gonna do a show here
apply
soon.
that tourniquet fast.
Exactly, you be able, because let's say you hit the femoral near the knee. How many seconds of free bleed do you have before they're done?
On the femoral, anything more than about 45 seconds is probably not survivable. Realistically, you probably need to get it stopped in 30.
Yeah, you need to get that. If you've got a major bleed on a big artery, and the big arteries, folks, I know you can't tourniquet a neck, but you can put a pressure bandage on it. You've got big arteries in the neck. You've got them on the brachial plexus that run on the inside of the forearm. The brachial runs from basically behind your ear all the way down your arm. You've got the femoral and all the big arteries that seem to congregate right in the pelvic girdle. If you're going to tourniquet at the top of the limb. Like even if the wound is down here on this part of the arm, you want the tourniquet near the joint. Apply that tourniquet as fast as you can and tighten it down good. I know it's probably not going to be the most comfortable thing, but I would rather be uncomfortable than bleed out. Go to Dark Angel Medical's
they're going to be screaming at you.
Right. Go to Dark Angel Medical's
YouTube
channel, Dark Angel Medical here on YouTube, and watch some of the videos, because he does have great videos on there that'll show you how to apply a tourniquet, some basic first aid. But you in a situation like that, basic first aid is next to nothing. You need somebody that knows a little more than just how to put a Band-Aid on somebody. You're going to need somebody that can stop a bleed. Because again, you get out there in the middle of nowhere and off one of these trails like these folks did, seconds can be like hours. Depending on what happened, how bad they're bleeding. It is time critical to get a tourniquet in place on a big bleed. Also, if you get off the beaten path, let's say these folks are 2 miles down a trail and one of them breaks their ankle. 2 miles might as well be 100 miles. Because unless one of them can carry the other one, God forbid it's the adult that broke their ankle and they were with a child, the child ain't carrying a grown adult out, and you are not going to walk out on it, not easily. There was a lady in Yellowstone just a few years ago who, her and her husband were hiking a trail, and she fractured her ankle and stepping between 2 rocks. And she said, "I'll be fine. Go back to the car where you got cell signal and call somebody to help come get me out of here. I'll just sit here on this rock." He was gone for an hour. By the time he made it back, she had already been killed and eaten by wolves. It doesn't take long, especially if you cannot get away. Harold Goodell says, Lene, are those trails marked? The second, how many people listed missing and then found? Okay, in LBL. We don't have exact numbers on the number of people that go missing in LBL because they are not forthcoming with it. Very much like the missing 411, they do not share information readily, because that is actually administered by part of the National Park Service. Although it's not a national park, it doesn't get reported. Just like the missing 411 cases, they're not publicly reported. The only ones that we're finding out about are getting reported by outside sources, eyewitnesses, other agencies that got involved. But the actual news coming out of the Parks Department itself does not happen. The park rangers do not share stories outside of the park. The only way that the word's getting out is when other people get involved. Yeah, it's a very dangerous area. And even if it weren't for, cryptids like Dogman or Bigfoot, there are still dangerous things out there. Anytime you're out in the woods, anytime you're off the beaten path, you run the risk of running into something that can and will kill you. It could be a snake. It could be wolves. It could be coyotes. It could be a mountain lion. It could be wild boars. Hogs will kill and eat people. They will do it. Make no mistake. If you're out there alone and you run into a group of hogs, you better back away and hope they don't come after you, because they will come up, and their tactic is pretty simple. They will run either past your legs or through your legs, and the boar will take one of those tusks and slit your leg open. And when that happens, you're done. They will put you on the ground and they will eat you.
Yeah, the average human adult has about 10 units of blood. A unit's about a pint. So you got 5 quarts of blood. Roughly a small truck's crankcase worth of blood. Femoral artery is about a half-inch in diameter. Doesn't take long.
You bleed out pretty fast. Someone asked about what the trails are marked. The areas of LBL I've been in, the trails are not well marked. Most of the campsites are extremely primitive campsites. That means, if you want it, you pack it in with you. There's no water there other than the lakes, which I wouldn't consider potable. Even with a life straw, I'd be like, maybe I should boil this, because those are lakes that people live along them. There's pollutants in those lakes. So if you're in an emergency, I would drink right out of that lake with a life straw, but it would have to be an emergency. There are no sources of water in these campgrounds. There's no electricity in these campgrounds. So if you need electricity, you're going to have to bring a generator. These are extremely primitive campgrounds, and the Parks Department and the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority, did not maintain it well. So some of those, there's a lot of campgrounds in there that are just blocked off. You can't even get back to them anymore. They've shut them down. No explanation why. And the folks on Hellbent Holler found a couple of them, and they were still in good shape. I mean, you could have driven down the road and backed into some of those campgrounds. And that's the same thing we ran into at LBL. Not LBL. So the same thing we ran into Joe Bald. Some of those campsites are perfectly serviceable. Even after that campground's been abandoned for almost 30 years, some of those you could just back into the spot and put up a tent. I mean, so the places, for being completely overgrown, is remarkably well preserved. The roads are still in good enough shape. You could get an RV in and out of there. There's still a boat ramp there. And most of the campgrounds are still completely serviceable. You might have to take a machete and cut some plants back, but most of those campgrounds are still usable today. And that was the case in some of the places down in LBL. Those campsites were still there. They've just done nothing to maintain it. So all the campsites are primitive. There's no power, no electricity, and cell phone signal is spotty at best. So our prayers are with them if they're out there looking for a missing father and a daughter, because that is a bad area. It is not ideal circumstances under the best of conditions. And right here in the middle of the night like this, finding somebody, not going to be easy. Because like I said, you get off the
moonless night.
On a moonless night. Yeah, the moon's not supposed to be up till like 2 a.m. So it is pitch black out there. So folks, if you're with a group and you go someplace like this, even if it's a national park where you've never heard a story about a cryptid or anything, even if it's just a place you feel safe, if you're hiking with a group, don't leave that group. Don't wander off on your own, because once you get lost, you may not find your way back. And it is easy, and I mean easy, to get turned around in the woods if you don't know what you're doing. If you're not an experienced outdoorsman, going off trail is a bad idea. It is very easy to get turned around. Casey Calloway is right. We are definitely not the top of the food chain. If you think you're the top of the food chain, run into a grizzly bear with a pair of cubs. You'll get reminded pretty fast.
Run into a moose with calves.
Yeah, moose will put you down. Folks, there are things out there in the woods that have absolutely nothing to do with cryptids that can and will kill you. Snakes, mountain lions, moose kill a lot of people every year. Bears, wolves, even a badger will mess you up. And if you live in one of the northern states like Michigan or Wisconsin, something like that, you could run into a freaking wolverine. And those things are nasty. They'll tear your arm off. Pound for pound, they're the largest member of the weasel family. But pound for pound, they're more ferocious than a bear. They will back full-grown grizzly bears down because they're just that mean.
Well, yeah, and they'll do it just for fuck all too. They don't. They're not thought they're going to eat you. They just because you're there.
Just pissed off. It's nothing but teeth, claws, and muscle, and a bad attitude. Angela Monroe says, I've been charged by a bull moose. Those things are dangerous. They'll stomp you to death. Folks, if you go out to places like this, if you're going to go hiking, don't go alone. But if you do something dumb like I did and you go out to one of these places by yourself, make sure somebody knows where you're going, so knows when you're going to be back, and what time to expect you by. That way, if you don't show up, they know where to send people to start looking. Always have a plan when you go into hike or Bigfoot hunt or camp or fish. Always have a plan. Make sure somebody knows where you're going that is not with you, and then know when you're supposed to be back. Make sure you've got at least a day's worth of stuff. Even if you're just going a day hike, if you're planning on hiking a couple hours, you never know when you get knocked off a trail, or you lose your way, or roll your ankle. Space blanket for heat. And it makes no difference on weight. You can have a whole pack of space blankets and not even weigh a few ounces. They weigh next to nothing, and they will save your life on a cold night. A life straw, $20 on Amazon, and you can drink straight out of a mud puddle with it. And I've seen people do it. It filters out even up to limited amounts of radioactive material. The life straw is worth its weight in gold because you can put the straw right in like a pond or a lake, and the water be safe to drink. May not taste the greatest, but that's not what it's doing. It's filtering out the stuff that'll hurt you. And like I said, $20, and they'll filter up to I think it's 10,000 gallons of water. Keep one of those in your bag, your go bag. Keep one in your car. This is an extremely dangerous situation, getting lost in the woods at night. They're just really lucky there are people nearby that know to come looking for them, because if they had to wait for the Parks Department, it might be morning before anybody got out there. Corey Carlson says, ran into a mountain lion last year. The thing was as long as the walking path I was on. Lost that. The comment moved up. I had a pistol with me. If it really wanted me, it wouldn't have seen it coming. Have seen prints for years, only seen it once. You don't take but once. And I've seen mountain lion prints lots of times, but seeing one actually walk across the trail, that is a brown pants moment. Kelly Marie says, DA and Steve, can you kind of answer this? If your local council workers, e.g., they are marking or surveying grounds of your national parks, have any of them type of people gone missing? And does the authorities know how many they explain them? How do they explain the missing if it's a cryptid? They don't. National Park Service are very closed mouths about people that go missing in parks. David Paulides tried to get a Freedom of Information Act request to find out just how many people went missing in national parks. And at first they claimed they didn't keep records of it, which is a lie. And then they said, but it's a big list, and to compile it is going to cost about $3 million. That's insane, just to give them a list of names of missing people. So they're very closed mouths about it in national parks, because they are their own jurisdictions. They don't answer to local law enforcement. They're a federal agency, and they are extremely closed mouthed when people go missing. There are lots of stories of park rangers going missing in parks. There are U.S. Geological Survey people that have gone missing. Heck, if you look at granted, this was in the 1800s, the Moss Mountain Massacre, when an entire party was ambushed and more than half of the party was dismembered by a group of Bigfoot. These things are dangerous, and a lot of times we're not even told that someone even went missing.
Well, and the thing to remember with them too is, typical law enforcement, like the agency that Robbie belongs to, ultimately rolls up to the Department of Justice.
Mhm.
The cabinet department that the Park Service rolls up to is the Department of the Interior. They ain't even in the same food chain. The to get to a common level, it's the president. These are cabinet level positions, so there is no cross reporting. So, it's a whole different critter altogether.
Robert D says, Cat, I seen a mountain lion by the side of the road at 3 a.m. in 2001 in northeast Missouri. I've seen them crossing the road in broad daylight down here in southwest Missouri. It is not uncommon. In fact, the other day when I was down
in a backyard.
yeah, the other day when I was down at Moon Valley, I was down there by myself. I saw some mountain lion tracks at the edge of the water. So there was one in that area, but they weren't fresh tracks. They were at least a few days old. But they're out here in the Missouri woods, and anybody says they aren't lying to you. Henry White said, I saw a buff male mountain lion out back on my property. Again, hey man, these things are more common than people realize. And a lot of times your state Department of Conservation will deny they're even there. They did here in Missouri for the longest time. They still refuse to admit they're black panthers. And I know lots of people that have seen them, including myself. Saw
I've
one
seen
when
one
I was
too.
16. Killed my cousin's coon dog. Mrs. Moon says, I've had
Yeah, but-
Giardia and it's bad. Life straw good. Definitely. I've got a couple of life straws in my different packs. Missouri Broad says mountain lions might as well be cryptids the way conservation denies they're around. You're not wrong. I was in the Army with a guy that when we showed up for basic training at the same time, his name was Mark Sartori. We got our heads buzzed at the same time. And since my last name was R.O. and his last name was S.A., we were like right next to each other in the formation. And I looked at him and I said, what the hell happened to your head? Because he had two sets of scars going up both sides of his head, about 3 or 4 inches apart. They were purplish scars. They were old, and they went all the way from like just around his ears all the way to the top of his head. And he goes, I almost forgot those damn things were there. He said, it happened when I was a kid. I said, what happened? He says, my family and I were camping up in the mountains of Wyoming, and a mountain lion reached into our tent and grabbed me by the head and was dragging me off. He said, I was about 8 years old. He said, if my dad hadn't been carrying a handgun, it would have dragged me off.
That's scary stuff.
Tracy Arnold says they denied they were in Kansas after my parents and my daughter saw one in their yard in central Kansas. Again, you don't always get the straight story out of the Parks Department or your conservation agents, because I know damn good and well they're here in Missouri, and I know wolves are here. I've seen them on trail cams. There are wolves in Missouri, and people that say otherwise are hiding something from you. They don't want hunters to start killing them, I guess. But hell, I was down by Table Rock Lake and heard them howl. They were nowhere near me. I mean, they were on the far side of the lake, but I heard wolves howl in the distance. So, they're around here. Big Gabe says, DA, are you familiar with Beartooth Range? It sounds familiar, like I should know it, but I'm drawing a complete blank. Harold Goodell says, mountain lion was killed by CPD in a Chicago burb. That does not surprise me. We're getting them on Ring doorbell cameras here in Springfield. And again, Springfield's the third largest city in the state of Missouri. It's nothing when you compare it to Chicago, but if you compare the bedroom communities, add those to the total, we're looking at almost 500,000 people in the greater metropolitan area, and we're not finding them. We're not just getting pictures of them in these bedroom communities that surround Springfield. They're popping up on Ring doorbell cameras in town, in the big part of town.
Yeah.
So they've gone through miles of inhabited areas to get to where these cameras are. And they're getting both mountain lions and black bears. Hell, it was just a month or so ago, Steve. What's that?
Yep. I'm going to step away for just a second, okay? I'll be right back.
No problem. There's a comment about red wolves. Yeah, Robert D says red wolves in the south parts of Missouri for years. And I'm thinking there are timber wolves back as well, because that didn't sound like a red wolf I heard down by Table Rock Lake. Karen Polson says, yeah, in Wisconsin too, DNR denies, but privately tell farmers to take them out and bury and keep it quiet. Missouri Broad says, Camo Dad says, they deny them in upstate New York as well, but I had one in the backyard on the camera. Missouri Broad says, I saw something out of the window of my house on my property, but it was long and khaki in color and was creeping by. Probably a mountain lion. Mountain lions tend to be that kind of tan, desert, tannish color, but not always. It could also have been a wolf, because there are some species of wolves that look very brown. In fact, if you look in a pack of wolves, there'll be a wide variety of colorations just among a single pack. KC Calloway saw a video of mountain lion walking into an apartment complex in the middle of Canada. Again, doesn't surprise me. And I really think some of these animals, these large predators, are starting to lose their fear of us, because we generally don't allow large predators to be hunted. And once these things realize they're safe and nobody's going to shoot at them, they get awfully bold. Robert D says, DA, we have the land, water, and game for any big eaters in the wilds of our state. Yeah, you could support any big predator in the state of Missouri. Hell, we used to have grizzly bears in Missouri, but they were hunted out. There hasn't been a grizzly bear sighting in Missouri, I think, since the Civil War, somewhere in that area. But they once roamed these hills. Chris Silger says, someone said that there's a female African lion loose in Oklahoma. Not just that, there are a number of tigers loose as well. The guy that went to prison, the Tiger King, he had a tiger sanctuary down in southeastern Oklahoma, down near where the Brown Springs incident happened. But there are a number of big cats that have been confirmed loose down there. Harold Goodell says, coyotes run the railways in Chicago. No telling what else comes in on rails. Leon Howarth, the Dogman researcher from England, has observed that people that are the conductors of trains have reported it, and other people riding on trains have seen dogmen moving near the tracks. And this is throughout England, and because it's an easy right away for them to maneuver. So I would be stunned if they're not doing it here in the United States as well. Roxanne Delgado says, if I had people try to tell me timber rattlers don't exist in Missouri, I can take you to a place outside Platte County where they're at least. I used to find them all the time up in Laclede County. I used to run the rivers in the back roads of Laclede County all the time. In fact, there was a place we call Rattlesnake Springs because there were freaking rattlers there. Missouri Broad says, Gary, I have a 3-legged raccoon that is my arch nemesis. Hopefully it meets a mountain lion. E.D. Testament says, we got them in Dallas County. Yeah. Moon Valley's down in Dallas County, and I saw tracks down there. Michelle N says, in Canada, the deer use the train tracks when the snow's too deep. Makes sense. Animals are smart. They're not gonna fight something that's much harder when they can find an easier way. There's just no sense in it. Cat says, same sheriff had a pic of his dog still on his lead. Looked like a shark tooth. His body from underneath the front arms. Dog's lower half was gone. Jeez Louise.
Holy shit.
What bit that dog in half? Holy crap. A lot of our train engineers see Bigfoot and cryptids while moving at night. I've heard that from a few people that work for the railroad, including one that claimed that the train hit one up in the Pacific Northwest, and they didn't stop the train, but somewhere along a train track in the Pacific Northwest is a long dead Bigfoot carcass, or its own kind carried it off. Robert D says, my uncle killed a 6-foot rattlesnake in the 70s. Was a pic in our local paper showing him holding it up. That's my dad used to kill copperheads and rattlesnakes with a hoe when we were gardening, when we had our farm, because we would find snakes in the garden all the damn time. Cat says, sheriff won't release the pics. May have been a large black cat. A big cat can do a lot of damage to a dog. I have seen it happen. Brian Barber says, we just had a guy get arrested here in Michigan for shooting coyotes, and one turned out to be a gray wolf, which isn't supposed to be here in this area. I am not shocked. And there for the longest time, coyotes were considered a nuisance animal here in Missouri, and you could hunt them because the Missouri Department of Conservation paid a bounty on them. When I was, I don't know, 16, 17, 18, then they're about in that area, me and some buddies of mine would load up our 22 Magnums and go out and basically bring in a bounty every weekend. And you could make some pretty decent extra money when you're a kid.
Yeah, you can still shoot them now. You just don't get a bounty for it, right?
Right. Yeah. They're still considered a nuisance animal. They just don't have a bounty out on them. I know lots of farmers that'll still pay you to come out with a scoped rifle and keep especially when they start losing livestock. Robert D says, I'm thinking these trains have cams on the front of them for years for car wrecks. They do, but good luck getting that footage from anybody from the railroad. They will not share that information with anyone. In fact, the few engineers I got a chance to talk to who were willing to tell me stories said video did exist, but they had no way to get it and would lose their job if they did. Hardington says they used to have a bounty on them in Maine. Brian Barber says, yep, it's legal to shoot coyotes. The gray wolf, which isn't supposed to be here, not so legal. Yeah, well, it's an endangered species, so I can imagine. But still, if it's not supposed to be there, how are you supposed to know you're not supposed to shoot it? I haven't heard anything from Robby, no texts or anything, so keep our fingers crossed. We're still running strong with 196 people.
Yeah, we were at 218 just a moment ago.
Nice. Again, folks, if you're going to go out camping, fishing, hunting, backpacking, we chose our affiliates for a reason. Dark Angel Medical makes some of the best med kits I've ever used. If you're going to be out in a situation where you're away from basic 911, you need a good med kit. It's not something I wish I had. It is a necessity. It's as necessary as a good pair of hiking boots and a walking stick. It is an absolute necessity you have one with you. If you're going to be off trail, or even if you're at a campground, a trauma kit could save your life. It could save your life or someone you care about. A good knife, whether it's from Brock Blades or Scallywag, or if you buy it at Walmart, a good blade is worth its weight in gold in a survival situation. The knife is probably the single greatest invention that you will ever have if you're in a survival situation, because it's such a versatile tool. Get a good knife and keep it sharp. And I still recommend Scallywag Tactical or Brock Blades, both high quality knives. I would rather pay a little extra for a good quality blade than buy a cheapie and have the blade snap on me. And I've broken quite a few knives over the years because I used to buy a lot of cheap knives. I didn't know any better. I was a young man and thought I knew everything, and I broke a lot of knives. But I could take one of these, like this one, for example. This is the Gunner's Mate. This is one of the ones that Robby's got on his pack with him right now. This blade is thick enough and sharp enough that if I needed to chop limbs to build a shelter, I could do it with this knife. If you're going to carry a knife, carry a stone too. Carry something to sharpen it, because you may need to put an edge back on it. But I'm telling you, a good blade is absolutely a necessity if you're going to be off trail. First aid kit, good blade, a life straw, something to start a fire with that you can keep dry. I don't care if it's a lighter, drier lint works great. I'll tell you some secrets for really good fire starters to keep in your kit. Crayons. Crayons make great fire starters. You put that in your kindling and light one end of it, that crayon's going to burn for a good long while. You can probably get 30 minutes out of a single crayon. Crayons make great ones, or you can take cotton balls and squish. Take the cotton balls and squish a petroleum jelly, Vaseline. Squish it into the cotton ball, get it good and inundated, put a bunch of them in a bag. One of those in your tinder will light and burn hot for a good long time. Dryer lint, also good kindling. If you don't have any of that, find a good dry stick and take that knife and hit it, hold the stick to the ground and hit that at a downward angle toward the ground, and just chip little flakes off of that stick. And you want a pretty decent size, you don't want to do it with like a little bitty narrow stick. You want one a couple inches around, but just at a downward angle, just tap pieces off of that. And you can make tinder for a fire pretty fast, especially if it's dry. But if the wood's wet, if you're trying to make a fire in an area where the wood and the leaf litter and everything is wet, you are gonna have to have fire starter in your gear, because getting a fire going on wet wood, it is not easy. It's not impossible, but it is not easy. Missouri Broadcast crayons is a great suggestion. They work fantastic. Oddly enough, if you got like Clark bars, I'm sorry, not Clark bars. I can't remember the name of them. Cliff bars. Those little power bars you can carry. Well, not only are they a great source of protein, but they've got oil in them. You can break a chunk off of a Cliff bar and burn it. Doritos burn great. If you've got a bag of Doritos and you need to start a fire, put 2 or 3 of them down with your tinder and light one of those Doritos. They burn hot and they burn for a while. It's just because of the oil that's into the Dorito. So there's a number of just easy things you can put in a Ziploc bag, keep it dry, and use it as great tinder. You don't necessarily have to have a flint and steel, but you do have to keep whatever you're using to start a fire dry. I have a striker. I also have a couple of lighters tossed in my back because they don't take up any space and they don't weigh nothing. But keep them dry. Keep them in a Ziploc bag or roll them up in tinfoil or something like that. Keep them dry, because once they're wet, they're probably not going to work. This ever here says I'm done eating Doritos. I don't blame you. They're very you trust me. I don't care what flavor of Dorito. You take one and hold a lighter to one corner. That thing's going to burn, and it'll sizzle and pop the whole time it's doing it.
The way
you're not supposed to eat the crayons. Well, yeah, it depends on whether or not you're in the Marines or not. They're a snack and a fire starter.
The way that they determine how many calories something has in it is they burn it in a particular container called a calorimeter, and depending on what kind of energy it takes to burn it, determines the calories in the thing. So high calorie items burn well. And that's
Brian Barber says the bears are already out of hibernation. They're saying here in Missouri, the Department of Conservation has already put out warnings that snakes came out early this year. So if you're going to be anywhere, get a good set of gaiters or a good thick pair of boots, because the snakes are already out. Anti-venom says dryer lint coated in Vaseline works like a charm. Like I said, there are any number of really easy, inexpensive things you can keep in a pack that are good for fire starters. I have a little waterproof container. It's about this big, about yay big around. It's completely waterproof and sealed, and it has a flint striker on the outside of it. And I keep it full of wooden matches because those old wooden matches will strike just about anywhere. I keep one of those in my bag. So get a couple of space blankets. You can buy a 10-pack of space blankets off Amazon for $5, and those things will save your life. They will not only will they keep your body heat in, but they also work if somebody's trying to look for you with thermal imaging. Just an odd happenstance. I don't know why somebody would be looking for you with a thermal imager, but they will obscure you from thermal imaging. They take up no weight in the pack. A good container for water. Life Straw makes a version of the Life Straw that fits right into the drinking straw on a Camelback, which means you could go over to a stream or a creek or a spring, fill that Camelback, put it back in your pack, and hook that Life Straw in and drink straight out of the pack. Visit our local Army Navy stores. You can find a lot of good survival gear at most Army surplus places. If you shop on Amazon, you can find tons of stuff. But as for there being a definitive list, I'm not going to quote brands or things like that. I'm just telling you what I take and what things I'm willing to trust my life to. So build a kit, and like Robby said, anything is better than nothing. Have a good first aid kit. Have fire material. Have a space blanket to keep you warm. Throw a few power bars in there, because in a bad situation, you could live for a while off one of those a day. You had 6 or 7 of those in a pack, in a pouch. They're going to keep. and they will keep you at least moving. Um, and if you aren't familiar with plants in your area that are edible, don't just start trying stuff, because for just as many of plants are out there that are edible, there are plenty of them that are also not, and can and will kill you, depending on the plant, or at least make you very sick. So there's a book you can get on Amazon. I keep a pocket copy in my bag, and I have a big copy on my desk, on my shelf behind the green screen. It's called the SAS Survival Guide. That book is invaluable. It will teach you how to make snares. It will teach you how to make shelters. It will teach you which plants are edible in your areas. That book is a wealth of information, and there are a lot of other books out there on herbal medicines, and like how the first settlers survived on what plants they ate. So there's a lot of books out there, but I would definitely recommend getting at least a pocket copy of the SAS Survival Guide and keep it in your pack. So just be prepared, folks, and have something to defend yourself, be it a knife. If you don't believe in carrying a firearm, then don't. But get a good walking stick, get a good knife, get a hatchet, get an axe, because there are things out there that can and will kill you that have nothing to do with cryptids. And like I said, bears, wolves, mountain lions, bobcats, coyotes, snakes, the greater North American meth head. There are people out there that will hurt you. Just because you see somebody else, another human out in the middle of the woods, does not mean they're friendly. If you stumble upon an illegal marijuana grow or a meth lab out in the middle of nowhere, you're probably going to get shot at the very least. And one of the things they told us to watch out for is some of the illegal grows around Missouri before it was legal. They would take a piece of PVC pipe and put a cap on the one end. They would only make a piece about yay long, and put a shotgun shell in it with a nail in the bottom, and they would bury it in the ground, sticking up with about this much of the shotgun shell sticking out of that tube. So when you step on it, it forces that nail up through the firing mechanism, would blow your leg off with a shotgun shell. That's just one of the little things they can do. They would also hang pieces of fishing string with fish hooks at eye level in the trees. They're pretty nasty stuff. That gives me another point. Get a little survival fishing kit and throw it in your pack. You can stay pretty well fed off fish, but have a plan, have the equipment you need, be careful, let somebody know where you're going, and above all else, come home safe. Because we're a family here at Ex Machina. We're the Ex MachiNation, and we may be weird, but we put the fun in dysfunctional. Harold Goodell says pemmican, camelback, good with a knife. Pemmican, if you're not familiar with pemmican, it is not hard to make. The Native Americans made it and lived on that for centuries. There are a dozen videos on YouTube to teach you how to make pemmican. It's not hard, and if stored properly, it can last decades, and you can go an entire day off just a small amount of it. There's lots of old survival foods. The Scottish Highlanders had one particular brand that was made out of oats and other things. There's a dozen recipes, and I may put a couple recipes out that have some of these more survival rations that are pretty easy to make. Annie Venom says a hiking stick being smacked on the ground lets snakes know you're coming. They make them with a stun gun on the end now. That is good to know. A good walking stick, worth its weight, believe me. Again, folks, be careful, because Robby and Johnny had to take off because there's some missing. A father and a daughter went missing in LBL, not far from their campsite, and we're hoping and praying that they find them safely. That is a bad area to go missing. But even here in Missouri, where towns are fairly close by, even in the Mark Twain, it is easy to get turned around and lost. And right now, there's a wildfire burning in the Mark Twain, down that was called Pine Ridge, but it's down by the Current River. So that's probably puts it down near Eminence, Missouri. But there is a wildfire, and you do not want to get trapped by one of them rascals. God forbid you do, but if you are in an area where there's a wildfire, get to water. Get to water as quick as you can. Casey Calloway says, DA, a friend of mine in Special Forces, made a plate with 100 double-aught buck shells in it. People can come up with ingenious ways of doing harm to your fellow man. Missouri Broad says they have a great group looking for them. Yes, they do. There are some good folks there, and I'm glad Robby and Johnny and them were close by to lend aid. So, folks, say a prayer for them. Hopefully, find that father and daughter safely, and that all the people that go out looking come back safe as well. Just a great example of telling you, death comes for us all, but it comes a lot sooner for those who aren't prepared. And this is a situation where I think they overestimated the situation they were in because they never should have left the group they were with. Be careful, be safe, come back to us, and join us again for the next one. We'll be back on Wednesday night. So I'm going to go ahead and do my little toast.
Alrighty.
Need to mention the 22 a Day Foundation real quick. Don't forget, we lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and that is 22 too many. So check out the Till Valhalla project, because the money that they gather goes directly to help veterans. It buys artificial legs. It buys service dogs. It buys therapy. They even give plaques to fallen soldiers' families. But think about those first responders and veterans in your life. Those guys that may seem like the most well-adjusted and always in a good mood may be the ones that need you the most. So reach out and let people know you're thinking about them. Tell them you love them, and don't be afraid to tell them you love them, because tomorrow might be too late. I'm sure they know they don't have to fight those demons alone. So check out the Till Valhalla project and the 22 a Day Foundation. So at the end of the show, we've been doing a toast, and it's from an old Irish drinking song called "The Parting Glass." And the song is sang at Irish pubs all over the world at the end of the night. People are going their separate ways and going home after last call. But when you listen to the lyrics, it's not really talking about that. It's talking about lifting a glass to those who've gone before us, those who we've lost along the way. And I hope tonight that those searchers in LBL find who they're looking for, and we're not raising a glass to them. I hope we're raising a glass to their safe return. But join me in the toast as we say goodbye to those that we've lost along the way, and salute our first responders and our veterans and service members. But the quote is, I'll put it up on screen. "But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call. Good night and joy be to you all." Thank you all for being with us. Thank you for being part of the DA Ex MachiNation, and we'll see you guys on Wednesday night. Good night.
Good night, friends.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DA Ex Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.
That was a good show.
It was. It was funny. You steadily held your views, and then